"Don't look out that window," my mother screamed, grabbing my brother's hands, which had lifted up the drapes. She cried, holding John in her arms and making sure the windows were fully covered. "Why can't we move, Mom?" I asked. "I'm sick and tired of this stupid town tradition." "How many times must I tell you? We can't. At least now that Dad's gone," she mumbled, while simultaneously wiping tears from her eyes. I felt bad for asking, but I meant every word of it. A dark pit settled at the bottom of my throat, and I was filled with anxious fear. "How much longer?" John asked. "It's only 12 a.m. There's still 6 hours left," our mom replied. "6 hours of hell," I added. "Jake, watch your language," my mom yelled while letting go of John and climbing up from off her knees. "That's the last thing we need to watch for tonight, Mom," I replied. She glared at me before whispering, "Shush. Don't bring any unnecessary attention to our house. Also, what do you want me to do? You're acting like this is my fault. I'm just trying to make it so we're safe." "I'm sorry," I whispered under my breath. We lost Dad, and I lost my best friend Richard last year to this tradition, and now who knows who will be Grin-dee's next choice." "Don't say its name," my mom hissed. "Who is Grin-dee again?" John asked, innocently. My mom and I both took in a breath, wondering how to explain it to him. There wasn't a straight answer. I looked at my mom, and she could tell by my facial expressions that I wasn't going to be much help for this. She then said, "It's nothing you need to concern yourself with. Just a silly urban legend." She paused, visibly in pain while trying to smile through it. Her lips quivered before uttering, "Some people say that it's a curse or something, but all you need to do is smile and it'll go away. Remember? Like how we did last year for the first time?" "Oh yeah. I didn't like that," John muttered. Mom began to cry while turning to me saying, "What if it happens again, like last year? What if John can't keep his composure and smile? Why can't we hide him? That doesn't work." I asked the Petersons, who said they've tried that before and that it won't leave until everyone is present. It'll stay past the 3 minutes, even when you say the words. We just have to explain the importance to him to hold that smile. "I'm afraid, Mom. I can't lose you or John either. Losing Dad last year nearly broke me. We'll be okay. The Graysons have been fine for years, even with a baby. This year we actually know it's true and what to do. We just have to make sure John smiles and keeps his eyes open." She then turned to him saying, "John, we're going to have the special guest come again tonight. Remember? Like last year?" "No. Please no, Mom," John cried. "It took Daddy from us." Holding back tears, my mother said, "It's going to be okay this year, honey. Just as long as you smile. And don't cover your eyes the whole time. Just smile and stare directly at that picture of us on the wall the whole time the guest is here. It'll only be 3 minutes." John nodded, wiping away tears that were streaming down his cheeks. Before I could add anything, we heard, "Knock, knock, knock." "It's here," I mumbled under my breath. "John, smile and stare at the wall," Mom told John anxiously while she headed towards the door. I grabbed her arm. "I can do it," I said while putting on the biggest smile of my life. I then opened the door, and the thing stood there, grinning from cheek to cheek, with a slight tilt in his neck to the right. Its eyes looked straight, unmoving without a single blink. My stomach wanted to leap out of my mouth. I motioned with my arm for it to come in. It did in a straight line without the usual bounce, accompanied with footsteps. It was as if it floated. I followed after it and sat down on the couch next to my mom, who held John's hand sternly. Grin-dee walked and stood on the opposing side facing us. Not a single word was exchanged. That's when our dad came up from the basement and stood next to it, smiling the same way since he got back from being taken last year. For 2 minutes we sat there in silence. It was the longest 2 minutes of my life. I continually glanced at John, who stared intensely at the picture of our family on the wall. I noticed a tear beginning to stream down his left cheek, landing on the edge of his fake smile. I looked back at the thing and my heart leaped as it then stood right in front of John, blocking our family's picture from his gaze. My heart thumped like a drum in my chest. Grin-dee took one of its long, white fingers and wiped the tear from John's face. He let out a loud cry from the back of his throat. It grabbed John's hand and pulled him to the door, stopping to look back at us. I looked at my mom, and she whispered with that awful, forced smile, It's for the best." Not knowing what to do, I panicked inside. The same thing happened last year, and Dad stood up to try and stop Grin-dee from taking John when he began crying. I wanted to cry so bad, and I could tell my mom did as well, but if we tried to save him again, it would take us. Then John could just cry again this time next year, so saving him would have meant nothing, just postponing the inevitable. Grin-dee stood there, waiting with John, wailing and begging for our help. The 3 minutes were up. My mom, Dad, and I then said simultaneously, "Bye, Grin-dee. Bye, Grin-dee. Bye, Grin-dee." It then left out the door with John screaming. My heart eased up a little from the fear, but overflowed with sorrow over losing John. I didn't tear up until my dad, who watched us intently with that twisted smile and dead eyes, walked back into the basement. It was weird to have heard my dad's voice, as I hadn't since he left. Then my mother and I held each other and cried. There wasn't much we could do to change anything. My mom went ahead and locked the basement door, which would stay locked until a year from today. We both then tried to get to sleep, both knowing it was futile and impossible, but trying anyway. The usual laughter could be heard through the cracks and vents on the floor from Dad. It felt this time that he was mocking us, even though he had done it every night. He was the reason we couldn't leave the town. If we were to try and leave, then apparently he would stop us, and we'd end up like him. We, along with our neighbors, lived in fear, in a town full of smiles. The next night, at 12 a.m., we heard a knock at the door and we answered it. There, standing in front of us, was John, with a large grin on his face.